depth of open sea. Me, silent. From out around this Trojan earth, Apollo and myself established the surrounding towers of stone with straight-set measurements. Never from my heart or my good mind has this, my own city, been absent. It is now burned to ash by vicious warcraft, fatalized, purged, ravaged, by Athena's contrivance fit together, a horse pregnant with tools of war. Through my towers he sent inside this graven wooden god, from where he has delivered an afterbirth of men. Hallowed groves stand desolate, and God's palaces stream with slaughter. And upon the spot where men's boots stood for Zeus's court, King Priam has fallen, dead. And a plethora of Trojan gold and stripped spoils are being sent by Greek ships, and waiting for fair wind from the stern after 10 harvests, eager to see their wives and children, those same men who marched war against this city. And for I have been conquered with joy. For whenever wicked desolation seizes a city, it grows diseased, no longer willing to honor any of its gods. The Scamander River streams with countless agonies of captives, women appointed away to masters by casting of lots. They are obtained like gambled coins. Unclaimed Trojan women are put in these tents, taken for the chief commanders of the army, and with them that treacherous woman, Helen, deemed just another customary captive. Justly so. And if anyone is willing to look upon this hideous wretch, she is here, Hecuba, lying before the gates, her many tears pouring forth from her many terrors. But indeed, unknown to her, at Achilles' tomb, her daughter Paulina has been killed despicably. And her husband Priam, too, undone and gone with his children. And she whom Lord Apollo reserved to remain a virgin, raving Cassandra. Now the Greek general Agamemnon, in blatant disregard both of the gods and sacred duty, has taken as wife in secret violence to his bastard marriage bed. You, my city, once you prospered, but now, farewell my city, cleaved and crumbled. If Athena, daughter of Zeus, had not decimated you to ruin, yet you still would stand.
Is it possible, as you share stock with my father, who's both a great divinity and revered by the gods, is it possible to loosen our former hostility so I can address you now?
It is allowed. For our communion by kinship, Lady Athena, is no small love charm for my heart.
Oh, I commend your kind disposition, because I bring to you words that may serve our common interests.
Surely you don't come from the gods or Zeus or any other divinity reporting only a common word.
No. But on account of Troy, where we now walk, in hopes to receive a common understanding.
What? Surely you've cast out your former contempt, and now, like fire burning to ash, you've turned your hatred to compassion?
First! Return to my earlier point. Will you agree to terms and share a common wish, which I am now eager to achieve?
Yes. Fine. But nevertheless, I must know. Do you plot on account of the Greeks or Trojans?
My former enemy, Troy, I now wish to make rejoice. And when I wish to strike the army of the Greeks with a sorrowed return to bitter homes.
But why? You always lead different times to different habits. You hate and love, both excessively, and both as chance might have it.
Have you not heard of the malicious defilements done to me and to my shrines?
I have heard. When Cassandra was brutishly dragged away by the hands of the Greeks.
Yes! My own Cassandra! They were fully aware of her appointment made by the gods themselves. They knew of her vow of chastity, yet they pursued her, and have suffered nothing for it.
And yet, it was indeed by your power that they ravaged this place.
Well, then by your help, I desire to enact their own wickedness upon them.
Then, I'm ready for that which you desire from me. What is your will?
I would throw upon them the sort of return home from which no one returns.
While they still remain on land, or when going upon the briny sea?
Whenever they should sail to their homes away from here. Zeus also will send an unspeakable storm of thunder and hail, and a gloomful squall from out the ether of the air. He has given me formidable flames of lightning to hurl upon the Greeks and consume their ships with fire. And as for your part, you will furnish their crossing with roaring ranks of waves and whirling sea. Make every corner of their home shore saturated with their corpses, so that the remaining Greeks know to reverence my temples! And of course, worship the other gods too.
This shall be done. For the favor you ask needs few words. I shall disturb the salty Aegean Sea. Now, go to Olympus and take the spears of lightning from your father's hands, and wait, expecting whenever the expedition might happily set out. Senseless is whoever plunders the city of mortals, both its temples and its tombs. He toils as his own fortune teller. He dies, doling out his own desolation, finally, upon himself.
Up from the ground. Up, misfortune head. Raise up your neck. No longer is this place Troy, and no longer are we queens of Troy. Though fortune changes course, yet hold yourself up. Sail through the strait, sail through your fate. You do not set your proud life against its waves. Float instead along with chance. Ah! What lies before me now but my hollow house, when children and fatherland and husband all are dissolved and waste away? Grand majestic pride of my ancestors cast down a base, so now it's nothing. I am wretched, jointed to a growth faded setting as if fixed and served upon a table, my back stretched tight against this stiff bed. My head, my temples, my ribs, how I ache. How this languishing staggers me, how thorns claw down my spine, and I twist between these walls, worthless, this ceaseless weepful keening. But this is music, music for the wretched, jingling, bewildering discord.
You, swift prow of Greek ships, disrupted the sanctity of this city, hooking into Troy's swelling bosom just to pursue that abhorred whore of Menelaus. Helen! You have brought infamy upon us all. And indeed, she murdered Priam, father of my children. And this wreckage called Hecuba she dashed against these doomed rocks. And I am now a slave, torn out from my own house, a groaning old wench. My head to be shaven for slavery, my strength plundered from me, pitiful. But all of you, all of us, the useless wives of our eviscerated Troy, you girls ill-wedded to the smolders of Ilium, scream, howl, squall!
Hecuba, why cry out? Why make such a noise?
What's the point?
For throughout these crude cages, we're hearing your pitiful wailings. These terrors slice through each Trojan woman's breast, and all of us within these huts, all these slaves, we weep.
My children, the Greeks are already preparing their ships.
Are their hands grasping its oars, set to row?
Woe, woe upon us. What are they planning? I don't know, but I expect we're doomed.
No! 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 Listen to this! Listen, you women of Troy! You fellow miserables, we are being carried from our homes. The Greeks are packing us up for their homecoming.
My child, my Cassandra, don't send her out. Don't let her provoke the Greeks with her ravings, even after what happened to her. What they did to her. She cannot bring upon herself further pain or suffer further torments. Troy, your extinction lives in wretchedness, and your wretched children must forsake you, both the living and the dead.
We leave these dilapidated tents trembling, fearful, hardly able to hear from you, our queen. Do you expect the Greeks to kill us? To lay our useless lives to waste? Or are there sailors already at their helms, ready to order their rowers to take us away?
My child, be wakeful now in the early dawn. Keep up your spirits.
Let us try to strike away our shivering fear. Have the Greeks sent some messenger to us? We are now poor refugees in our own homeland. Shall we be acquired as slaves?
There is little doubt the time is at hand to be gambled away to them. What sort of man shall take us? To what miserable land or lonesome island far remote from Troy? Grief, whose withered old slave shall I be? In what land shall I be that trite old maid whom everyone pities? A mindless crone, a clone of a walking corpse, a fleeting mirage of Troy's corpses. Nothing more than a doormat sweeper, the nursemaid to their spoiled brats. And once upon a time, I bore the highest ancestral honors of Troy.
With what sort of piteous stirs do you cry out your outrage? I look the last upon the bodies of my children. My last chance. I shall be wrestled down by torments, taken to the beds of whatever Greeks crave me. Damn the night when such things happen, and damn my cursed fate. If Ida's servant should be asked to draw them water, I'll draw nothing but bitter tears. If only we could sail off to some happy country of paradise.
Yes, and not be dragged away, to be Helen's most hated handmaid, and there to face the smirk of Menelaus, and serve the will of him whose will it was to ravage Troy.
But look, here comes a herald for the armies of the Greeks. Someone to give us new reports. He marches swiftly, makes a quick pace. What more can he tell us? What's he saying? We already know we'll be slaves of the Greek lands.
Hecuba. It's me, Talthybius. You know me from my frequent journeys into Troy, coming to you as a messenger for the Greek army. We've come to know each other somewhat, haven't we?
How could I forget the herald of death?
I've come to report the latest news.
This beloved woman of Troy, I feared this for a long time.
Just now your fates have been allotted, if that's what you're afraid of.
Say it. Someone from the city of Thessaly? From Pythia? Or Thebes? The land of Cadmus? Where must we go?
You each were assigned by lot according to each man as he drew. None of you will be together.
We'd be separated to us.
I know! but ask me about each on her own. Not everyone at once.
My daughter, tell me, who got my poor Cassandra?
She was not assigned by lot. She was chosen specifically by Lord Agamemnon. Hurrah!
The destruction of Troy by his hand was not enough. Now he must take my daughter to be enslaved to his Spartan wife? Oh, my child, my child!
No. Rather, as his prize of war, she will be kept as his private mistress.
He'll take as his own Apollo's sacred virgin, whom gold-haired Apollo himself elected to live unmarried. Surely he knows this!
He is fully aware, but desire has thrust its arrows into him. He's come to be obsessed with the girl.
My daughter, throw away your sacred consecrated trappings, scrap your sacred keys, and tear your holy garlands from off your skin.
Is it not thought to be an honor to have access to a king's bed?
My other child, the one you just took from me, what of her?
You mean Paulina? Or some other child?
Yes, she, whom she bound to by her lot.
She has been appointed to attend the tomb of Achilles.
I'm less than nothing. I mothered a slave to the dead. Talthybius, what law or custom dictates this? What Greek nonsense is this?
You should count your daughter lucky. She fares well.
What stupid babble! She fares well? By which you mean she's still alive?
I mean she'll be free from hard labor.
And the wife of my son Hector, master of arms, wretched Andrea, what fate does she have?
She too was chosen specifically. Achilles' son took her.
Me? Whose am I? Who will get a hobbling servant that needs a stick for a third foot? Whose gray-haired slave shall I be?
The king of Ithaca, Odysseus himself. He drew your name to possess as his slave.
Strike your fist to the earth, tear your nails across your cheeks! I am cursed, I am damned, taken to slave away for that festering, treacherous beast. Her hate for him is justified. He's a lawless, savage animal. He's twisted everything here and there. He tangles back and forth with his dissembling, his double tongue. He distorts former friends to bitter enemies. Mourn me, woman of Troy, for every step is cursed, and I descend into suffering.
At least now you know your fate, my queen.
But what of us? Who shall take us?
Enough! You, slaves, go. Bring Cassandra here, quick as possible. I'm required to give her to the hand of my captain. And also must take those other captives obtained by lot to the other commanders. Hey, what's that fire? What's burning in there? What are they doing? Are the Trojans burning their own huts? Because you're about to be taken from your land, you'd rather die? Cremate yourselves? Immolate your own bodies? Surely it's true that those most used to freedom are those least capable of bearing their burdens! Open up! Open the doors. I won't be held responsible for anything so convenient to an enemy of the Greeks!
No, it's not that. They're not burning anything. It's my daughter. My broken Cassandra. See what you've done to her.
So...
Lift it up! Hand it over! The light! Bring it! Oh, I worship. I burn! See? See? With torches I worship. I burn the hallowed sacrifice. And blessed is me. And blessed is my new husband. My new life, my wedlock! I'm taken away from my home to be taken in a kingly bed. Mother. Since you bring an offering of tears and weepings, lamenting our dear dead father in our dear dead fatherland, on account of my upcoming nuptials, I'll burn my light fire, in the shine of the sun, in the sunlight. Shake a leg! Lead the ethereal dance! Lead the ethereal dance! As with the fate of my father, happiest happiness, most fortunate fortune! Just so, the dance is divine! Come on, Apollo, now! I've burnt sacrifices at your temples wrapped in noble laurels! High in the heavens, his chambers or sea, I will sit the god king of matrimony. Builded high builders, mud and stone climbing. Builded high builders, the bridegroom's arriving. In such this great place, hold my wedlock and key, secure on a mantle, untouched by the free. As the war god himself, the tallest of tall, the higher it may be, the farther the fall. Dance, mother! Laugh loud! Have a giggle! Watch me. I know the steps to the dance. Roll around this way and that. Move your darling foot along with mine. Howl with happy hymns and shouts for his fresh bride. Come, you fine dressed girls, jubilate for my wedlock, my bridling. Revere the husband given me, my impending bridal union.
Queen, your daughter's been struck by madness. Take hold of her.
Stop her.
She may dance her way straight up to the Greek camp.
Oh gods, you surely bear the torchlight in the wedding feast of mortals. But this delirious flame you kindle is far beyond my greatest fears. My child, I can never imagine you'd be taken for such a coupling. A marriage forced by Greek spear point. Give me your torch, for you don't hold it straight in your rapid dance. Oh, the things you've suffered, my child. Mother, crown my conquering head with garlands and rejoice in my regal marriage. Send me forth, and if I should be at all unwilling, thrust me forth violently. For as Apollo lives, when the glorious Greek lord Agamemnon takes me for a wife, I'll be more excruciating a bride to him than Helen is to his brother. I'll slaughter him. I'll ravage his household, excising vengeance for my brothers, my father. Oh, but I won't tell you. No, I certainly won't sing to you of the axe blade that will bite into my throat and the agonies awaiting the mother killer set loose by my marriage. But I will illuminate, being myself so enlightened, how this city is far happier than the Greeks. For they, on account of one woman and wild passion, their hunt for Helen, they suffered death without number. And their so-called wise general, so hate-filled, he slaughters what he loves most, sacrificing even the pleasures of his own home, his own children, to fetch a woman for his brother. And she was eager to serve as spoils. Greek wisdom goes, he's the wisest of all. For from the point when they set foot on Trojan soil, they were already dead, dying neither to reclaim a raided province, nor defending a high tower fatherland. But Ares seized them. Their children never knew them. Their wives' hands never shrouded their corpses for their burials. In a strange land, they died as strangers. And in their own homes, the same thing happened. Their wives died as widows. Their old parents died childless. Their children were raised by strangers. No one is left to perform funeral rites for them, to pour sacred blood over the dry dust of their graves. The Greeks have run a military campaign worthy of commendation. The history books will teach their orphan sons how valiantly their fathers were slaughtered for Helen, how nobly their dads' corpses lie strewn unburied. It is better to keep their shame silent. But no, the Trojans have the first and greatest glory, for they died in defense of their fatherland. They took spear in hand. Their loved ones carried their dead into their homes. In the lands of their fathers, they were covered in earth. By the hands of loved ones, they were buried. And those Trojans who didn't die in battle day by day abided alongside their wives and children. The Greeks were far absent from such pleasures. A wise man does well to avoid war. But if war finds him, the man who dies bravely in battle garlands no shame around his city. But cowards have no glory. On account of this, mother, do not weep for your land or for my marriage bed. For by my marriage, our vile enemy will be ravaged, butchered, laid to utter waste.
How sweetly you laugh at the horrors of your house. And you dance, and you speak of things that cannot possibly come to pass. Bad move.
If Apollo hadn't frenzied your brains, you wouldn't send my commanders out of your land with such horrid prophecies. Not without getting proper retribution. But nevertheless, those who are revered and believed to be wise are no greater than those who aren't. For Agamemnon, Lord Agamemnon, has by his lust set upon this raving girl as his chosen prize. I'm nothing but a poor subordinate, but even I wouldn't procure such a marriage bed. And as for you, I hand over your reprimands of Greece and your praises of Troy to be carried off by the blowing breezes. Now follow me to the ships. You'll make a beautiful bride for a leader. And you, when Odysseus, son of Laertes, has need of you, follow him. All who've come to Troy say you'll be handmaiden to a very reasonable woman.
Well, isn't this little lapdog terrific? Why should they have the honored name herald? These underlings who surround tyrants and crowd their governments, these lackeys who unite all men in common hate of them. You claim my mother will be taken to the lair of Odysseus? What then to make of the words of Apollo, who claimed, and this he clearly explained to me, that she'd die right here? But the rest of your stupidities I won't hold against you. Neither you nor he even know what sort of torment lies in wait for him when he arrives back home, or how the evils we and the Trojans endure will be as gold compared to his future. For 10 years more after his 10th year, he'll sail only to arrive back home alone. But, in short, he's going straight to hell. And although he'll eventually slink out of that lake of death, he'll find only evils without number when he arrives back home. But why should I jabber on and on of Odysseus' troubles? I'll be brief. I shall be taken as a bride down to Hades. And as for me, my naked corpse flung into the chasms where winter's slushed snow gushes. Nearby the body of my bridegroom given to be torn apart by wild beasts. So much for Apollo's handmaiden. Farewell, garlands of my most beloved gods. Tear away from my flesh while my flesh is still pure. I give you to be carried off on the fluttering breeze. Up to you, prophetic master. Where is the general's ship? Where must I go to step upon it? Do not wait any longer for whistling winds to fill your sails, for you're carrying out of this land one of the 3 avenging Furies. Farewell, mother. Do not weep for anyone. Dear fatherland, my brother is buried beneath your earth alongside my father who engendered me. You won't be long in receiving me as well. My advent among your other victorious corpses will come soon, after I have laid waste to their houses, just as we have been slaughtered by them. Watchers of weathered Hecuba, don't you see your mistress collapses? Don't you see how she is mute and voiceless? Won't you help her?
Shut up!
Worthless slaves.
Won't you lift her up? This ruined old woman.
Keep her body upright. Leave me! Your kindness is no kindness at all. I never asked for it. Let me lie where I've fallen. For my ruin is all I'm worth. What I suffer now, my sufferings to come. Gods, you are treacherous allies to call upon, and yet there is some comfort in the empty rituals of invoking the gods whenever they throw such horrors at us. So therefore, I sing a swan song of my former glory. Through much evil I shall inspire much more pity. I was royalty, married to a royal lord, here mothering the bravest children, no other children compared to them. No woman in Troy or Greece or among the other barbarians, no woman ever had such a cause to boast as me. And all of them I've seen slaughtered by Greek spear, and upon their graves I shall shave my head in grief. And their father, Priam, I didn't hear of his fate from others' cries. No, this I saw with my own eyes. They butchered him at the altar of burnt offerings to Zeus, and I saw as my city fell. And you, my young girls, whom I brought up to be honorable wives, they've been taken into the hands of strangers. There is no hope they will ever see me again, or that I will ever see any of them. And last, the capstone of my wicked agonies, I'll be the withered slave woman of a Greek. There they'll impose a wearing task upon me, unfit for my old age. A debased doorkeeper, a custodian of keys, the mother of Hector, now a baker of cornbread, laid to sleep upon the bare ground, my backbone shriveling in the dust. A queen from a royal bed. Tattered rags sunk around my tattered skin. The happiness of my youth is mingled and torn as the rags of my old age. So much misery on account of one marriage of one woman. I have suffered. I must suffer more. My child, my Cassandra, what evil will destroy your purity? And my poor Paulina, where are you now? None of my scattered sons or daughters, none of the many born to me can soothe my suffering. So why lift me up? What sort of hope is there? Cast me down to the ground! My foot once graced the streets of Troy, now a mere slave's hoof. Cast me to the dust, my bed of weeds and my pillow of rocks. How I've been ruined, how I've fallen. With tears I waste away and drain to nothing. Of all the happy women, considered unhappy till she's dead.
Sing to me, Muse. Sing of Troy. Sing the unsung hymn. Chant a funeral ode to the rhythm of my tears. For now I shall cry a lyric strain to Troy. How that four-footed beast crawled forth on its four wheels. How they built the horse with roars that reached heaven. How they abandoned it at her gates, gold-scaled, pregnant with Greek warriors, Greek swords.
How the common men of Troy cried joyous shouts from rock-towered stations. Look, come see how our endless troubles are over. Lift this sacred sacrificial image up to Troy, up to the temple of Athena, Zeus' own daughter. Now everyone walked out from their homes. Didn't all of us, young and old alike, we all walked out from our homes. We all sang songs of wild joy. And drunk with joy, we brought home Greek deceit and treachery. And all born of Troy rushed to the gates. Greece's ambush hewn out of mountain pine. Troy's unknown doom offered as sacrifice. Trojan soil soon to be stained with Trojan blood.
And we rejoiced until the night swallowed all in darkness. And Trojan victory songs screamed out against the night. And girls raised their feet in the airy dance and sang a cheerful strain. And in our houses, hearth lights glowed, curing sleepers' dreams of all darkness.
And in that moment, I sang, I danced,
I celebrated.
until a blood-choked scream echoed my song, rising up from the city, filling our homes. I remember children, babies tucked in their beds, dear children, tangled in their mother's arms, shivering in silent terror. Then Ares unsheathed his sharp ambush, doing the foul deeds of maiden Athena until her altars dripped with Trojan gore, and alone in their bare beds, beheaded. Such are the honorable crowns of victory for the Greeks. Stories of Greek bravery to fill their children's heads. The Trojan homeland drowned in treacherous sorrows. Hecuba, do you see? Is that your daughter Andrea? And cradled in her arms, dear little Alexander, Hector's son. Where are they taking you? Poor woman.
Move.
Greek masters are hauling me off. My child. Why do you sing my song of suffering? Don't you have your own to sing? This agony of gods and suffering, child. We're done.
Now we are no more.
Happiness is gone. Troy is gone.
Despair remains.
None of my noble sons, my fearless son, gone.
Gone.
Gone. Gone from me.
Evil of evils.
How such horrors can happen.
Our city.
Once our home, these ashes we breathe.
He might come back to me.
My husband, he might return to me. No, child. He's dead. You're crying out only to the grave, only to hell.
Come back to me. Keep me safe like you said you would. Take care of your family.
Hector, you made the Greeks suffer shamefully. Our firstborn son, a gallant leader for all Priam's children. Come, sing me to sleep like I once sang to you. Take me to be with you in death.
With all my heart I despair and hope to die.
These unbearable agonies we must keep bearing.
Our lost city. No one will know.
Grief after grief after grief, as countless as the shovels of dirt on the graves of our children.
The gods loathe us because of your son Paris. Because he fled in the face of destruction. Because he took pleasure in his lust for Helen's bed. Because he brought the citadels of Troy to their destruction. And now you see the corpses, drowned in blood, strewn out, slit open at the feet of Athena, carved apart and carried off by vultures. Your son locked the yoke of slavery around Troy's throat.
Our home, our miserable home,
our forsaken home. I weep.
We must live to see our own horrific doom.
Here I gave birth to my son. Here I made my home.
My children, your mother's city has been torn from her. You also have been torn away. How should I grieve? How should I mourn? Tears giving birth to tears for our dead home. At least the dead don't feel this pain. At least the dead are tearless.
How sweet these songs of sorrow mark the cruel passage of our grief. They help us bear our pain.
You are mother to the man who held all Troy together, Hector. Who killed more Greeks in war than any man! But do you see the slaughter that Paris has sown?
I see the whims of the gods, how they exalt those who are nothing and drag the exalted down to dust.
So it goes with my child and me. We are carted off like spoiled goods, dragged down from noble birth to slavery, a cruel mutation to bear.
Horrifying torture. And just now they took Cassandra from me, dragged her away by force.
No. Now the Greeks have appeared to torture her a second time, and you are plagued by other sufferings?
My sufferings had neither measure nor number, only a struggle of evil withering against evils.
Being dead is a luckier fortune than being alive.
No, child, it's not. For death is nothing, nothingness, void. But in life some little hope always remains.
Your daughter Paulina is dead. They cut her throat at the tomb of Achilles as an offering to his lifeless corpse.
Blood, all his blood. This is what Talthybius meant. He spoke of this vaguely. Now it's made plain to me.
I saw her myself. I stepped over to her, I covered her body with my cloak, and I wept for her.
Oh, child, victim of profane sacrifice, even more grief so wickedly slaughtered!
You're a mother, you've given life to many. Listen. I'll try to find the best words to use to pacify your mind. I say that being dead is the same thing as never being born. And it's better to die than to live in agony. When pain isn't felt, there is no pain. And when one who is prospering falls down into endless misery, their soul stumbles away from its former virtue. And just the same, the dead, well, yes, they cannot see the light of day, yet they also know nothing of the darkness of night. I aimed for high honor and a good reputation, and I received more than most, yet still I missed the mark. For every virtuous quality found in prudent wives, I strove to achieve under Hector's roof. To begin with, if a wife doesn't stay at home Whether she's immoral or virtuous, it doesn't matter. People speak crudely of her. She gets a bad reputation. So I gave up my desires and longings, and I remained at home, and I wouldn't let all of their scheming gossip into my house, keeping my own common sense as my teacher was sufficient for me. I offered my husband a cautious tongue and a quiet eye. I knew when my decisions should prevail and when to let my husband decide. And as soon as rumors of my honor reached the Greek army, this honor has ruined me. For when they imprisoned me, Achilles' son itched to take me as his wife. And now I'll be a slave to the house that butchered my husband. If I cut my beloved Hector from my heart and fill the open wound with this new master, I am cursed as a traitor to the dead. But if I show my abhorrence to him, I will be loathed and unloved. One Greek soldier told me one good night in bed loosens a hostile wife's spite. Disgusting. Typical Greek horse shit. Not even a mare, when parted from its lifelong mate, will so willingly let itself be yoked to another. And Hector, beloved Hector, you were my husband, my perfect match, joined to a mighty family possessing wealth and courage. And now you are dead. Forever gone. And I will be taken at spear point to Greece to bear the yoke of slavery. And yet you weep for Paulina? She's blissfully dead! Aren't her sufferings now far less than mine? And even that last desperate hope which clings to all mortal hearts has abandoned me. I can no longer deceive my mind with hope, as sweet as such deceptions are to the heart.
Yes, this same sorrow comes to us. The dirge you sing for yourself guides our own assured misery.
Sailors say if they face a moderate storm, all work eagerly to save themselves. One made up the rudder, another trimming the sails, and another bailing out the water. But should the sea rage and foam beyond all measure, they give up their work and let themselves plunge into the course of the waves. And I, in the same way, give in without protest, for the torments sent from the gods have overwhelmed me. But you, dear child, must have done with Hector. Your tears won't save him or yourself. Show honor to your new master. Give love to your new husband. Bait him with your love. If you do this, you'll console yourself and those dearest to you. And in that place, you'll raise my grandson to be the greatest help to Troy, so that one day, out of this child, Troy will rise and flourish and become our city once more. But we must speak of other things.
Former wife of Hector, the best of all you Trojans, don't despise me, for I don't report these things willingly.
What is it? Your preamble suggests terrible things.
It's been decreed that this child... How can I say this?
No, they haven't given him a different master than me?
No Greek will be his master.
But then, will he be left here as the last remnant of Troy?
I don't know how to easily speak such evils to you.
Well, I commend your discretion, except if now you bring happy news.
They're going to put this child to death. There. Now you know this great evil.
No. Worse than my forced marriage!
Odysseus spoke to the Greek assembly, and the word of Odysseus conquers all.
More and more, no measure, no end to suffering.
He said it's best that the son of Hector not grow into a man.
Best. It's best that the same command also...
He is to be thrown on Troy's own battle! Don't cling to this child. But bear your pain with nobility. Don't expect your weakness to give you strength! For you have no help anywhere! Just think about it. Both your city and your husbands are gone. You're in our power! We can easily handle one weak woman. Look, I don't want you to struggle. I don't want to bring shame or animosity upon you. Just as I told you to hurl your contempt against the Greeks! For if you say anything to provoke the Greek army, this child will not receive a proper burial, and you'll be shown no mercy. But if you keep silent and accept your fate, the body of this child will be left unburied, and you'll earn the favor of the Greeks.
My darling boy, my child, prized beyond measure. You'll be murdered by our enemy. You must leave your sorrowing mother. The nobility of your father has sentenced you to death. The same nobility that saved the lives of countless others. Seasons of your father's goodness can't come to you. Oh, that cursed marriage bed and cursed marriage that led me into Hector's home and brought my son about only to be slaughtered by Greeks. Oh, child, you're crying. Do you know the evil prepared for you? Why does your little hand hold mine so tightly? I grasped for my cloak as a young bird seeking shelter in its mother's wings. Hector will not rise forth from the earth wielding his renowned spear to save you or your father's family or any Trojan power. He'll cast you head first from on high, throwing you away without pity, ripping your spirit from you. Oh, dear child, little child clasped in your mother's arms, how sweet the sound of your soft breaths. I bore you, nursed you, raised you, swaddled you, all for nothing. I wearied myself over you, wore myself down with toil for your care, all for nothing. Now hold your mother's hand, tightly now, and never again. Barbarian Greeks, searching always for fresh cruelties! Why slaughter this innocent baby? This blameless child? And for Helen, of all things, to hell with her. Her beauty is a vile poison, and from those beautiful eyes you bring yourself desolation and disgrace to the fields of hollow Troy. All right. Come on. Come on and take my child. Throw him away if that's what you've decreed. Make a banquet of his flesh. The gods are exterminating us. I'm powerless to prevent anything. Hide my shamed body. Throw me into the ship. I have a fine wedding waiting for me now that my son's dead.
All Troy is desolate, countless dead for one woman in her foul lust.
Come, child. Let go your mother's loving embrace. Go to the ancestral towers. There, as they've decided, to take your final breaths. Take him. thing such as this, a herald, requires a man without shame or pity, whose blood runs all colder than mine.
Child, son of my cursed son, they've taken you from us. This is no justice. To plunder you from me, from your mother. What can I do? What can I do that won't end in ruin? What can any of us do except beat our own chest? That's the only power we have left. Woe to my city. Woe to you. What's next for us? What yet must we do before we can come to death?
What a beautiful day! Sun's out shining, skies are blue, and soon I get to put my hands on my wife again. Helen! I've worked so long and hard alongside these boys to find you. Menelaus and his good old boys. Again. You know, most people think I've come all the way to Troy just to get my property back. That's not true. No. I've come here to hunt down that dirty, double-crossing rat who stole my bride straight from my house. Poor dumb bastard paid the price for it, too. He and his heathen backwater. By the spears of Greece, God's own country, we skewered him like a pig. Laugh! Good boys. Smart. Just like their leader. You know, I'm here to fetch that nasty hag I once called my wife. I was told she was processed as one of these Trojan prisoners. That she was held in one of these rat holes. My boys fought so hard for her. Now, well, they hand her over to me. Kill her? Don't kill her. Take her back to Greece? Whatever I want! I think I'll kill her, though. Best to not do that here in Troy. She needs to pay for all that was lost here. You. You hunt down every nook and cranny, and you drag her out here by her blood-stained hair if you have to. Go! Now we wait for the fair winds to blow, and off to Greece we go.
Oh gods, whoever nourishes this land sustains the earth. Whoever you are, inscrutable riddle, shadowed lore, whether Zeus or vague life force or a superstition of man's imaginings, I pray to you, I beg you, though you remain silent, bring mortals surely down the path of justice.
What was that? Oh, a prayer. Some made-up mumbo-jumbo for the gods.
Menelaus, I certainly approve of you killing Helen.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
But avoid looking at her, so you're not seized by desire. For her eyes entrance men, decimate cities, consume households and fires. This is the diabolical spell she casts. I know her well. So do you. So do all her victims. But for now, go fetch her, Menelaus. Hear her side of it. And once you know her whole story, you kill her without reservation, for you don't know the depraved things she did while in Troy. You'll kill her without any chance for her to escape her fate.
What a waste of a beautiful day.
Yep.
But I'll do as you please. I'll let her speak, but only because you asked for it. And just so the whore knows, it has nothing to do with her.
Disaster was ordained to me. Misery was ordained to me. The day our own Paris, son of our own queen, boarded a ship to cross the swelling sea, only to dock in Helen's bed.
Helen, the most beautiful of all creatures, seen by the sun god's golden light.
Suffering, and forces worse than suffering, the cycle of suffering turned loose upon us all from one senseless act. Countless death-drenched miseries.
Evil incarnate.
Death stumbled into this land.
The judgment of war, all because of the judgment of the man Paris. To think he could take the wife of the great Greek leader without consequence. To think his decision would have determined some miserable retribution.
Spear, slaughter, and outrage in my very home. In every corner, a widow screams endless tears in her home, strikes fists against her gray head, rakes fingers down her cheeks, claws out her own blood, and tears herself open in grief.
Disaster was ordained to me. Misery was ordained to me.
Sort of introduction might frighten a lady, but nevertheless, I know I am the victim of your hatred, but yet I'd like to ask, just what do you and the Greeks wish to do with my life?
No decision was arrived at yet. However, all of these men, all that you betrayed, well, they hand you over to me so that I kill you.
Is it possible, my lord, to have a discussion about this? Can I show you that if I die unjustly?
I am not going to squabble with you. I am going to kill you.
Since my lord is treating me like an enemy, I suppose it doesn't matter if I speak well or poorly. But all I can do is guess how you'd accuse me, and then answer those charges with my own reputations as I see fit. First, she is to blame. By giving birth to Paris, she also birthed all these evils. Second, their old King Priam ruined Troy, and me as well, by not killing Paris straight from his mother's womb. He was, after all, the very image of a scoundrel. Just look at what he's done to me. I didn't deserve to get stuck between the meddling of the gods and the stupidity of men. Aphrodite herself came to Paris and promised him my hand, but my hand was not hers to give. I was the wife of the great King Menelaus. But Aphrodite promised Paris that once I was his, he would receive also all the authority and power of the Greeks, so that he'd be supreme ruler over all boundaries of Asia and Europe. So of course the scoundrel took me. I was married and content with my husband. I lived a pleasant life until Aphrodite lied to Paris, and Paris was fool enough to believe. And so, she forced me upon him, and all of this for the benefit of Greece. For this, Greece is fortunate, victorious, but I was ruined, sold off for my lures. You all reproach me for this when you ought to put a crown of honor on my head. And do not begin to say it's still my fault, because I secretly cut and ran from your house. He allied himself to a goddess, and not just a minor goddess, but a great one, this Paris, this nemesis of yours, no matter what you choose to call him. For what was I thinking? Forsaking my home to follow that foreigner? Forsaking my home and my fatherland? Don't punish me. Punish Aphrodite. Become more powerful than Zeus, for he has power over all divinities, but is a slave to her. Punish her, but pardon me. And you may well sneer at me with this smug argument. When Paris died and was thrown into the cold ground, and my union to him, forced upon me by the gods, was annulled, why didn't I flee and make for the Greek ships? I ran to do exactly that, and there are witnesses. Countless gatekeepers and tower watchmen saw me scaling the city walls. The guards found me rappelling the battlements with twisted cords down to the ground, trying to hide myself. Until another son of her brood took me, forced himself upon me as my new husband, despite the other Trojans' disapproval. How then do you suggest my death might be justified? Husband, is this your sense of justice? He took me by force, against my will. I slaved bitterly in that household. I was no princess. If you want to fancy yourself stronger than the gods, then go on. Kill me. Show off your stupidity. Queen, avenge yourself.
Avenge your children, your fatherland. This persuasion of hers, this seduction, ruin it. Ruin her.
She spews clever virtue while being vile to her core. She is trash. She is filthy!
First, I shall ally myself with the divine and demonstrate how this woman perverts justice. Don't make idiots of the gods to cover up your own idiocy. You won't persuade any rational person. And you said that Aphrodite, this could make anyone laugh. Aphrodite allied herself with my son to infiltrate Menelaus' halls. If she had promised you to Paris, couldn't she have stayed home in heaven, nice and quiet, and brought you to Troy from there? It seems a simple enough task for a goddess as great as Aphrodite. My son was handsome, remarkable of appearance. You took one look at him and your desire became this so-called Aphrodite of your story. Everyone calls their foolishness Aphrodite, blames her for their own stupidity. There's hardly a difference between a moray and a moron. You saw him arrayed in foreign fashions, his robes golden and radiant, and you lost your mind. While you lived with the Greeks, you regressed. You had very little. And after Paris set you free, you found this city flowing with gold, and you hoped to spend it all in lavish extravagance. Menelaus' halls were not sufficient enough to quench your cravings of decadence. So you claim that my son dragged you away by force? Did anyone hear you call out for help? What sort of cry did you scream out? After the Greeks followed your trail to Troy and brought the agony of war with them, you'd hear someone say you declared your love for Menelaus to torment my son with jealousy of his great rival. But if the Trojans had won this war, Menelaus would be nothing to you. You looked only for good fortune and fair weather, and because of this practice, you couldn't look for goodness itself. So you claim that you stole away down the towers with ropes because you were being kept against your will? But did anyone ever find you fastening those ropes into a noose? Or sharpening a sword for yourself as wife of your station and noble birth would have mind to do out of grief for her former husband? And I warned you countless times. Daughter, I said, get out of here. I'll hide you, send you off in secret, help you reach the Greek ships, and countless times we could have ended this whole war between Greece and us if you had just returned home. But peace was a bitter thought for you. And now you come out here, adorning your body like a harlot, appearing under the same sky as your husband. You should wear the spit of others, not this finery. Better to come out bowing low, wearing thread-bearing rags, shivering with shudders of fear, head shaven, bare to the scalp, having more humility than shamelessness, in the presence of the husband you so grossly offended. Menelaus, this is the end of my argument. that you would bring a worthy honor to Greece if you were to slaughter this vile woman and establish this law for all other women, that those who so blatantly betray their husbands are to be killed.
Menelaus, your Greeks whisper that you are weak. Clear the blemish of weakness from yourself, your household, your ancestors, your children. In the presence of all the Greeks, exact the punishment your wife owes. Show your enemies your noble character.
Well, seems like you agree with me. That she willingly left my home for the bed of a stranger. And she threw in Aphrodite just to show off. You go over there so they can stone you to death. And maybe your little death will start to pay for everything that was lost here. That'll teach you to put me to shame.
No, I beg you. Bowing at your knees, do not put me to death for the sickness of the gods. Forgive me.
Don't betray your slaughtered allies for their sake, your children's sake, I beg you!
Shut up, old woman! I don't want to think about this anymore. I want to have my servants take her down to the boats and then send her home.
Don't bring her aboard the same ship as you.
And why not? Does she pack on the pounds up there in the palace? Is she going to weigh my ship down? Or better yet, do I have another mouth to feed?
Once a lover, always a lover.
Well, that depends on the minds of the lover. But I'll do as you wish. She won't board the same ship as me. We'll send her back home and she'll die some fitting and horrific death. And be made an example to all women that they should control themselves! It won't be easy for me. But still. Let her death terrify the hearts of the foolish. And even those more shameless than her. Let's go.
So Zeus, this is the way of it? Handing your temple in Troy over to the Greeks? Forsaking your altar here and the offerings burnt upon it? Our purest home, sacred abode, forsaken trade-off.
Gone are the sacrifices, the sacred dances and choral charms. Gone are the vigils of the gods through the dark of night. Gone are the consecrated statues, carved of living wood, adorned in gold. Gone are the hallowed festivals of the full moon. Do you care, Lord? Are you troubled by this? Does it weigh on your soul as you pose on your heavenly throne? Do you give any thought to this ravaged city, to this ruin burned down to bone and ash? My husband, my love, you are only a wandering spirit, a wandering memory, your body unburied, no vigil kept for your soul. A sail-feathered ship will steal me across the sea. Our little children crowd the gate in tears, reaching for their mother's embrace, screaming. Mother! They're taking me away from you! The Greeks are taking me away! I'm all alone! Away from your sight, in their black ships, across the wide sea! If only the double-taloned lightning, the fire of Zeus,
might strike Menelaus' ship in the middle of the wide west. If only he'd suffer, as Troy has suffered, burn as Troy has burned, when I with countless tears am banished from Troy, when I as a slave am brought to Greece. Let the wild Viking come. May he never reach his homeland, or arrive at the soil of his fathers, or be received at his ancestral hearth. May he never again behold his brass-gated city. He who sees back the woman, whose shameful wedding brought disgrace to every corner of Greece, in misery to the land of Troy. Ah! Fresh miseries are born from wounds still raw. Death gives birth to death. Look!
Women of Troy, miserable widows. Little Alexander, he's been returned to us. His dead body brought to us.
They killed him! You cruel Greek savages!
Oh, they threw him from the towers to his death.
Hecuba. One last ship remains, holding its oars, ready to return, carrying the spoils of war that remain. There will be no more delay. Andrew will be taken to the ships. When they came for her, she wept so passionately for her fatherland and the grave of Hector, I must admit, it inspired many tears in me as well. And she begged that this child, Hector's son, whose life ended when thrown from the walls, she begged that he receive a proper burial. And that this bronze-plated armor, once a terror to us Greeks, worn always at the side of Hector, she asked that it not be brought to across the sea, or placed in her inner chamber by her new marriage bed, there to witness all her new agonies, she who is already the mother of this corpse. And instead of burying him in a cedar casket, or enclose him in a tomb of stone, that he be buried with his father's armor. And that I hand him over to you, for you to wrap his body in shroud and funeral garlands as best as you are able, since her master is leaving in haste, and she is unable to perform the ritual herself. Once you've prepared and buried the remains, I'll affix a spear to the earth to mark his grave. I've spared you one hardship at least. I've cleaned his body and washed his wounds in the river. But I'll go dig a grave, so that between the two of us, we'll shorten the work and sail home all the sooner.
Place Hector's armor on the earth, an excruciating sight, a torment for me to see. You, Greeks, with sharper spears than brains, why did you do this? Why did you fear a child? Fear a child so much that you planned such an inhumane murder? Were you afraid that one day he'd raise up our fallen Troy? Are you that weak that even though Hector prospered in battle with countless allies at his side, yet we were still destroyed? Our city is conquered, Troy is in ruins, and despite all of this, you're afraid of a little baby? I abhor this sort of fear, the fear that infects the mind where reason doesn't dwell. Little darling, how unfortunately death came for you. If only you would have grown into a man, died fighting for your city. If only you might have gotten married and ruled this land as a god. You would have been happy. If such things as these bring happiness, child, though you saw things, sense them in your mind, you couldn't know them, experience them, couldn't have such joys in your own household. Your little hands, as graceful and clever as your father's, now lie limp before me, hanging lifeless in their joints. Your little mouth, always filled with boyish boast, now is silent. I can imagine you saying to me, Grandma, when you die, I'll visit your grave, and I'll bring all my friends with me, and we'll cut off many many locks of hair and leave them for you to show how much I love you. But instead, I'm bearing you, an old woman without fatherland or husband, bearing the young child. Oh, those many kisses I gave you, how I nurtured you, watched you as you slept, all for nothing. What epitaph might some Greek poet scratch on your gravestone? An innocent child whom the Greeks feared and murdered! An inscription to shame the Greeks! Child, that you don't share your father's birthright, you are bequeathed his armor. How bittersweet to see how the hollow straps have stretched to fit his arm, and the rim still marks with the weeps of sweat that often dripped from his brow in the toils of battle. Raise some adornments from whatever goods we have left. Care for his body. Fortune doesn't give us much to work with, but whatever I have, you shall receive. Nobody's happiness survives for long. These are all we have at hand. All that is left from the spoils of Troy. All we have to dress and prepare the body. Child, your grandmother adorns you, not for the traditional honors of Trojan custom. She adorns you in death with these laurels which once in life were yours. But the God-forsaken Helen took such honors from you, just as she took your life and abolished your house and lineage. My heart! You wrench my heart! You seize me with sorrow. Here, I'll shroud your skin in this glorious robe which you would have worn on your wedding day to marry the noblest maiden in the land. And you, beloved armor of Hector, allied at countless battles, so glorious, so victorious, you now die with this child, because you are worthy of far greater honor than ever won by that evil-minded devil Odysseus.
Sharp Greek, dust of the earth, receive this child, welcome him, keep him, cry out, mother. Weep a song for the dead.
Oh, no, no!
Certainty of horrors, unyielding sorrow.
I can bandage your wounds, but I'm a useless physician, a healer in name alone, for nothing will heal. Your father will care for you among the dead.
Break up in your head. Crack up in your head with your fist.
No,
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 no, no, no. Oh, dear women.
Say it, Hecuba! Say something! Say anything!
The gods only care to bring suffering to me and to Troy, which they've elected above all other cities for their special hatred. Our sacrifices to them meant nothing. And if the gods hadn't snatched us up and thrown us beneath the earth, we'd be unknown, unseen, unsung. No poet would sing our song of tragedy for future generations. Take him away. Bury him in some lonesome grave. Send him to the underworld with honors. The grand pomp of a beautiful funeral is nothing but the empty arrogance of the living.
oh child, your poor mother clothed you in such great hopes of your life.
Born to a line of noble fathers, such great happiness, brought to nothing.
To a sickening death.
Why? For what?
What's that?
What am I seeing?
Who's waving burning torches upon our towers?
A fresh new hell kindles atop the ruins of Troy.
You! Captains at your posts! I'm talking to you! You've been tasked with burning the remnants of Priam City. Don't wait any longer. Take your torches, ignite the flames, burn the city of Troy to the ground! Then we can finally go home. And you. I have 2 orders for you, all you children of Troy. Go to the Greek ships. They'll take you far from this land. And you, poor, gray-haired woman, follow those soldiers. They'll take you to Odysseus. You've been assigned to by lot to serve far from here.
Oh, I'm forsaken! This is the last and final conclusion to all my torments. I leave my fatherland, my city smolders in fire. But weather feet, hasten quickly, do only this last task. Take one last farewell to your dead city. Troy, once so great, your illustrious name will be blotted out from history. They burn you away. I'm dragged off from my land, enslaved. Oh, gods! But why cry out to the gods? They never yet listened to my cries. Go, run into the fire. It's best to burn dying together with my city! Ah!
Grab her.
No!
Poor gray-haired woman. Your sufferings have made you hysterical.
Zeus! Son of Cronos, father! Do you see the outrages your children must suffer?
He sees. Yet our glorious city is a ruin. No city at all. There is no Troy anymore.
Ilium blazes, the citadel has fallen to cinders in the fire under the rubble of our highest walls.
Smoke rises on withered wings to the sky as our land decays.
O land that nourished my children. Ah! Children, hear your mother's voice.
In your sorrow you call out to the dead.
I am old. I give my old limbs to the ground. Strike this land, beat both fists onto the earth!
Like you, we fall to our knees.
Our husbands, we call our dead husbands up from under the ground.
You're dragged off, carried away.
Pain, pain, crying in pain.
Out of our land, into a house of slavery. Freedom, freedom. You are gone, unburied, unloved, blind to my fate.
Death shrouds its eyes in its black gloom. A hollowed man slaughtered by profane hands.
Scream woe to the temple of the gods! Cry woe to our beloved city! The bloodthirst of the fire is ours, the carnage of the spear is ours. Our citadel falls into the precious earth, and soon this precious earth will be nameless, forgotten. And its smoke rises on withered wings up to the sky. Only dust. My home. Only dust. Nothing more.
The name of this land is forgotten. One by one its memories vanish until
Nothing.
nothing.
Nothing. Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing.
And Troy's nothing.
Do you hear? Do you understand? The citadel has fallen. The earth trembles. A violent quake. The whole city's overwhelmed. My body trembles. My legs fail. Carry me off. Go. Go. Suffer. Begin the first day of your life of slavery. City of suffering.
But now, we must go.
We must go down to the Greek ships.
We must go.
We must go on.
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 We must go on. We must go on.
We must go on.
We must go on.
Land of bear and land of eagle, land that gave us birth and blessing, land that called us we will go home, we will go home, we will go home across the mountain. We heroes, land that gave us hope and memories. Here are cities.